Well, welcome in once again, everybody, to what promises to be another stupendous edition of the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers. I'm your host, Dennis Silvers, and we welcome you in on whatever platform you might be watching us on. And I've got to tell you, the weather here in Las Vegas is windy again. We had 50-mile-an-hour winds the other day, and that's not very conducive to playing golf, unless you're, of course, hitting downwind all the time. But it's been chilly here, but the weekend is looking good. Wind's supposed to dissipate, supposed to be in the upper 60s, so that's going to be good. So we hope whatever part of the country that you're in, you're able to get out and play some golf. Anyway, we've got a wonderful show for you today with a gentleman that's very, very well known. He's iconic in the golf industry as far as instruction goes, and I'm sure that unless you're from another planet, you have heard of my guest, David Leadbetter, who's down at Champions Gate in just outside of Orlando. Has been there for a long time. He's got academies all around the world. But anyway, David has long been recognized as really one of the top golf instructors anywhere. He is also one of the best-selling golf instruction authors in the world with 8 books about golf swings, and those have sold over 2 million copies, so that's pretty darn good. David has coached some of the best players in the world, not only tour players, but several major champions as well, like Nick Faldo, Ernie Els, Sayri Pak, Nick Price, Michelle Wie, just to name a very few. So that will give you an idea about his status. David developed a chain of international golf academies. Again, as I mentioned, headquarters in Champions Gate, just outside of Orlando. He has innovated a number of golf-related training aids and programs, such as Leadbetter Kids Golf, which we're going to talk about, Leadbetter Golf University, and his association with GolfZon. So without further ado, let's get this party started and bring up our good friend David Leadbetter. And David, thank you so much. I know you're busy as all get out, and I want to thank you for taking time out to be on the show.
Pleasure, Dennis. Nice to see you actually in the flesh. As I said, we were just talking about the good old days where we would just phone in. Right now, it's very high tech. So
yeah,
congratulations.
Very high
Keeping
tech.
up with the times you are.
Yep. Before we get started into the heart of the interview, let me ask you a couple of quick questions. How is our old friend Dennis Watson doing?
Dennis is doing great. We actually had my wife's 64th birthday party the other day, and Dennis at the last moment couldn't make it, unfortunately. But we had a lot of all our old friends like Nick Price and some of Kelly's tour friends from way back when, and it was great. So Dennis actually called in, and so he's doing well. Chasing all his kids around.
Yeah.
I think he's got 8 of them in total now, with obviously his former wife and his ex-wife and his current wife. So he's still playing a little bit of golf, not
Good.
a lot, redoing houses and stuff. So he keeps his hand in there anyway.
Good. Yeah, he's just a wonderful guy. Also, let me ask you this before we get started. What do you think, David, about all the goings on about this new Saudi Tour League and the money that's being offered to attract some of our better PGA Tour players? What do you think about all of that?
When you look at it, I mean, golf has been very traditional, and yes, there's the money in the game now is incredible, whether you talk about the PGA Tour or the European or DP Tour as it's termed now. So it was I would say it was inevitable that something like this was going to happen at some stage, because I mean, you look at the times that we live in, and it's with the social media aspect and who's going to televise this tour, who knows? But it's it's really interesting. I mean, I think obviously the verdict is still out. I mean, a lot of the players that you've heard have signed up for the tour are maybe in the twilight of their careers. People like Lee Westwood and Stenson and et cetera, et cetera. So it's it'd be interesting to see. I mean, we've got Rory coming out and making statements that he wouldn't join, and
Right.
Morikawa and John Rahm. Unless you've got those top guys there, it's almost like, they've had other sports. I mean, if you go back to football in this country, where they try to form a rival league, and it's difficult. I mean, tradition plays a big role. I mean, are these players going to be banned or not? Regular tournaments, will they be able to play in the majors? I mean, you hear somebody like Adam Scott saying, well, it suits me because I'm only going to be playing 14 events and maybe
Right.
3 or 4 majors. So, I think everything is so new. We'll have to see what they come up with. I mean, there's all sorts of rumors out there. I mean, in some ways, maybe it's good for the game that you're bringing people into the game, and morally, I mean, that's something that each individual has to decide upon, where the money comes from and who's giving the money. I mean, so it's a very delicate situation.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's any simple answer to it. I mean, look, in the end, it's a business. It's a living for these guys, and
Right.
so I mean, they make a lot of money on the tour now. Their pensions are worth a fortune. Their sponsorships are worth a fortune. So, people could say, well, how much money do you actually need? But I mean, you get somebody in the twilight of their career, like a Lee Westwood, they're going to pay him whatever 35, 50 million, whatever the rumors have it, and you'd say, well, I'd be crazy not to do that. I
Yeah.
mean, so it's crazy money, but there is crazy money over there, and that's the thing. And so, I mean, they sponsored heavyweight fights. They bought
Right.
a soccer team in the Premier League, and money is no object. And
Yeah.
so when you've got that sort of pull or power behind you, the old saying, money talks. So, I mean, there's a moral issue here. There's a loyalty issue here with the players. So I think it's going to be based upon what each individual thinks. And so who knows? I mean, there may well be sort of a rival tour. I mean, it would be nice to see if they could coincide in some form or shape, coming together at times. But if people dig their heels and say, no, we're never going to do that, well, then you've got an issue. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think it's for me to actually comment. I'm pretty much on the, I mean, it's easy to say I'm sitting on the fence. I mean, I've been out to Saudi Arabia. It's an interesting place, let's face it. I mean, they've got their rules and regulations.
Sure.
And one thing and another, you can say it's a cultural thing and it doesn't sort of mishmash with modern society. And I get all that. And it's like, well, it is what it is type thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
face it, a lot of countries around the world there, Dennis, so you wouldn't, if right now, if Russia sponsored it, you'd say the same thing, right? Probably, so I don't know.
I know
It's
going to be a tough decision because not only, as you know, almost all of the players, they want to win championships, yeah, but they're also out there to make a living. And when somebody tries to throw you 40, 50 plus $million, I mean, you got to sit back and say, where am I going with this? But anyway, David, how has the game of golf and the golf swing changed since, say, you started rebuilding the swing of Nick Faldo in the 80s? What has happened to the golf swing in the game?
Well, I suppose you could one word you could use is power. It's a power game now, and when you're looking at the Masters this year, Augusta's going to be 7,500 yards long. You've got to remember back in the day when Nick Faldo first won it, I think it was maybe just under 7,000. So, that aspect has changed tremendously. I mean, the equipment has changed drastically, the way you fit equipment to players to match each individual. The athletes, the golfers themselves have changed, the way they work out, the strength of players. I mean, yes, back in the day, you might have had a handful, the Jack Nicklauses and Tom Weiskos of the world. And probably if you ask Gary Player, he'd put himself in that sort of threesome as well, or twosome, from a standpoint of working out, doing. So there's more money in the game. I mean, you just look at the tennis players today. I mean, look at all sport. I mean, you've got tennis players. I mean, the average height's now 6'5".
Yeah.
And these guys are serving 150 miles an hour. Well, I mean, go back to the Jimmy Connors days and Bjorn Borg. I mean, it's completely different. So things have evolved, and so as a result, I mean, a lot of things are based on power. I mean, there's still certain aspects which the greats had years ago and they today, whether it be, and I always tell these young players who most of them have a lot of power these days, regardless, too many short hitters, even amongst the juniors. We have a full-time junior academy, and some of these kids, they've got 15 years old, they've got 120 miles an hour club head speed sort of
Wow.
thing. So, power is not sort of an issue for a lot of players now. But I've still maintained that great players throughout the annals of history have been great iron players. You just look; it doesn't matter who you look at; they've all been great iron players. We're hitting more, apart from in the long game, shall we say, we're hitting more iron shots than anything else, right? When you include the par threes, etc. So,
Right.
being a great iron player, somebody like a Colin Morikawa would be somebody you would look at today. And you go back through, you go back through history, whether it be Tiger, whether it be Nick Faldo, whether it be Nick Price, whether it be Jack Nicklaus, whether it be Hogan, Nelson, Bobby Jones. I mean, they're all great iron players. And I always say to these kids, look, yeah, putting is important, obviously, but I mean, you hit it 10 feet as opposed to 30 feet, you're going to hold a lot more putts. So it's almost a case, Dennis, of developing almost a hybrid swing, if you will, one that's suitable for the driver, because that's a different game. It's a different animal. It's almost like a different swing in many respects, because we're hitting up on the ball as opposed to down on it. So you're developing a swing that sort of suits a driver and also suits the irons, because remember, amongst the iron play, we've got to talk about wedge play as well. These guys are hitting it so long, and girls for that matter. You only have to look at the girls and see how far they're hitting on the LPGA Tour now.
Yeah.
I mean, their stats, you go to the early mid-80s on the men's tour, the women's stats are basically the same as they were back then. So, the same thing applies to them. Better athletes, better equipment.
Right.
Golf courses that are prepared better. They're running out a little bit more in the fairways, firm fairways. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. And I've seen a lot of change over the years, but it's still, there's still that mystery about the game. There's still, it's what they call the it factor, right? If you sign a certain player has this it factor with it. They're mentally strong. Their self-belief is strong. So it's more than just sort of technology. Technology is great, and we use it a lot, especially to back up what we see. But you just can't just teach this technology. We're not teaching robots. If you tell me two swings exactly the same out on tour. They're not. There's none.
They're not.
Everybody's different. You could tell. I mean, if you follow golf closely enough, from 100 yards off, you know who that is swinging the club. And so it's like, there's certain nuances and idiosyncrasies that players have. And in the end, it's like it's developing a technique that somebody has the natural talent. You develop they develop technique, and as a coach, you try to expound upon the good parts, maybe try to eliminate the weak parts. But to a large extent, we sort of our DNA is already set the first time we swing a golf club. So I mean, I can remember. Nick Price is in his mid-60s now, and I can remember Nick when he was swinging when he was 12 years old, and I can assure you he's got some of the same issues, same aspects, same tendencies that he had when he was 12 years old. So it's interesting. I mean, it's like a fingerprint, the golf swing is just like a fingerprint. And so we've got to be careful about trying to create this method and say, okay, everybody has to swing this way and that way. And I say, that's the danger with technology and trying to, if you're on TrackMan or something, you're trying to zero everything out. Well, why? I mean, somebody's 3 degrees from the inside, they hit a nice little draw every time. Hey, promote that. Why change it? Just because
I agree. I think that's
challenging perfection is a tough deal.
Yeah, that's very well said, Len. I've had discussions with other teachers on the show about what they feel the length of a golf lesson should be. And I've talked to a number of golf industry people about it, and it's really a fascinating discussion I've had. And a lot of them think now that the typical 60-minute golf lesson is overdoing it, is overload, that golf lessons nowadays should be no more than, say, 20, 30 minutes and work on one specific thing. What's your thoughts about that? Because you've given just a ton of lessons, obviously.
I agree partially with it, but I disagree partially with it as well. Because I'll tell you what, if you want to, I for instance, an ideal situation for me would be seeing somebody for about 3 hours initially to sort of be able to explain what's going on. Because if you don't explain it, and be able to get to a point where somebody really understands what they're trying to do and why they're trying to do it, and leave. I mean, because I can set a blueprint for somebody in 3 hours. Subsequent to that, yes, if you get somebody coming in for half an hour, almost checking, basically having follow-up from the original session, I think that's great. But I mean, these 30-minute, 60-minute lessons, I mean, by the time you've greeted somebody and watched them warm up for 5-10 minutes and sum it up at the end, I mean, you've got no lesson. So I totally disagree from that standpoint. I mean, and I realize not everybody can have a 3-hour lesson, but there's too much of this. I mean, I look at, they've got, I'm not going to mention names, but they can see for themselves on YouTube. Okay, I can fix your slice in one swing, or I can, in 60 seconds, I can give you 30 yards. Okay, from this particular individual, it shocked me because it took us 2 years to do it. So, I mean, if you can't guess who it is, then we'll fool you. But the fact of the matter is that that's nonsense. I mean, look,
it is nonsense.
I know everybody's in a rush and they want to get it and what have you. And there's so much on. I mean, there's 7 million pieces of information on YouTube about golf instruction.
Wow.
Okay, and people are browsing through it, and I mean, it's all visual or verbal. Okay?
Right.
There's nothing like getting in and showing somebody and putting your hands on them and getting into certain positions. So, to my way of thinking, I mean, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, I understand. Look, if you want to give a quick fix tip, that's the old thing. I used to say, all right, well, if you want that sort of lesson, it's bend your knees, $100, please. Okay, that's the end of the lesson. Okay, so it's like, work on one thing at a time. Look, you need to give somebody the complete picture. I understand what they're doing. Give them a few drills to do at home, with or without a club, possibly, or with or without a ball.
Yeah.
And so they develop. I mean, if I had my druthers, new golfers wouldn't hit a golf ball for 3 months. They develop a golf swing. They develop the technique that they needed without the fear and the negativity of hitting bad shots. Because everybody's going to hit bad shots. But if you're just making a swing, it's like learning to dance, right? You go there and you get your dance steps going, and then you blend it into a longer movement, a longer pattern. I mean, I've done tests on this. We had a couple of people who did 3 months, no balls. If you want to be part of this program, and it was amazing how good their technique looked. But I mean, as soon as somebody tries to hit a golf ball, I mean, you could have an axe in your hand and hit a golf ball. But I mean, the whole key is, you got to learn to make a swing, right? I mean, I think it was. I remember when I first came to America, I went to a seminar with Manuel de la Torre. Was a famous old coach who learned through Ernest Jones, and in fact my wife Kelly took lessons from him up in Milwaukee. And so his old deal was, and I always loved that saying, learn to make a swing and let the ball get in the way. Because they're so intent on hitting the damn ball that everything else goes out the window. That's why people make better practice swings than they do when the ball's there. So I think we have to look, yes, I mean, time is a factor, but if you really want to learn and play better golf, hey, learn the rudiments, especially in the beginning, and then you'll be a far better golfer down the line.
Well done. Well said. Well done. And I agree with you 100%. All right, David, stay with us. We're going to step away. We're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we'll have more with our great discussion with just a fantastic teacher, a great guy, David Leadbetter. Stay with us. We're back right after this.
Welcome to Tea Time Fitness with Janice. Hi, I'm Janice Thornton, your golf fitness guru. So let's grab a foam roller because I can guarantee you this guy is going to be your best friend for your golf game. Today we're going to go through a golf stretch for your chest. So go ahead, grab your roller. I want you to lay down and just lay down lengthwise on the roller, letting your head rest on the roller. Take your arms and just gently let them out to the sides and enjoy this stretch. Keep breathing. If you want to get a little bit deeper, you can bend your arms, elbows in a little bit. You're going to get a little bit deeper stretch. So hold this stretch for a good 30 to 40 seconds, and you're going to find that you absolutely will love that stretch. Are you ready to take your golf game to the next level? Get to jtfitnessandgolf.com.
When I first learned about Encore, I was a little taken back because I didn't know much about the ball. I went out and played a couple rounds with it, and I was just extremely surprised how this ball made up for what I was looking for in a golf ball 20 years ago. It's a very straight ball. It launches a little higher than other balls that I've used, which is ideal for the tour because we're playing firm and fast greens. A lot of the balls do fly very similar, but this ball reacts so much differently around the greens and inside 100 yards than any other ball I've ever played. The combination of this ball is the best ball that I've ever played.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Before we continue with David Leadbetter, I've just got to give a shout out to Janice Thornton from JT Fitness. She's got one of the best online programs that you could do, and she's been sending me some exercises, and trust me when I tell you, they have really helped. As you know, flexibility and all of that stuff is really good. So JT Fitness, she is fantastic. Anyway, returning with our very special guest, Mr. David Leadbetter. Led, throughout the years, you've instructed some of the game's most elite players: Faldo, Nick Price, Greg Norman, Ernie Els, on and on and on. Did all of them have a commonality for coming to you and wanting your help?
That's a very good question. I hadn't actually thought about that. I mean, look, everybody's trying to get better. And,
Sure.
I mean, obviously, your reputation, I guess, precedes you, good or bad. And some people feel, hey, I'd like to, let's see what he has to say about it. It's like almost, with Greg Norman, it was sort of after he'd won his majors and worked with Butch for a long time, and it was like he wanted my opinion. And so you give your opinion. If he liked what you say, which he did, then you carry on working. So it's one of those sort of things. And I don't think there's any common thing apart from the fact that everybody is pursuing, I would say, perfection, but they're looking for something that they didn't have, maybe a different viewpoint, which can help them to get to whatever goals they set for themselves. And so, I've had a variety of different players and personalities, and I mean, and talk about commonalities. There's no commonality amongst all the greats, all the top players. I mean, the only commonality is that they really understand their own games. They understand, for the most part, their own swings. They're organized in their own way, but they're all different. I mean, that's the interesting thing. And there's a very different makeup for champions, and there's no one model. I mean, yes, people can learn maybe from other great champions, but in the end, they've really got to figure it out for themselves. That's what I tell all these kids. I mean, the problem is we're sort of in a bit of a society now that everybody's looking for help from somebody, and a lot of the players these days maybe aren't self-reliant. I mean, the mentality has changed somewhat, and some of it's due to the fact, look, they're at college, they've got college coaches looking after them. A lot of these kids are going to seeing good coaches at a young age, and they can rely on them. And I still think, in the end, the individuality of a player and how they take that information in and then use it in a way that benefits them is the best way, rather than having to rely on a coach. I mean, having to have a coach there. It's a little different to tennis. You look at tennis, right? You look at coaching, which is really, when I came into the coaching business, shall we say, in the early 80s, there weren't really that many coaches around. Now in tennis, they've been around a long time, because in effect, tennis is like match play, right? You got to assess the opponent you're playing.
Right.
Well, in golf, it's that doesn't happen very often. So it's a case really that that you need to let somebody figure this out a little bit. They're on their own. They're playing 72 holes. They're just their caddy. The coach can't provide information out there. They can't hit the ball for them. They can't think for them. So it's really my job. Really, I always say to a player, listen, I'm trying to make you your own best coach, because if in that way you can rely on yourself. If things go off, you can find your plan B, shall we say, if you have your plan C, if that be the case. So coaching is a very interesting business these days, and I mean, there's a lot of really good coaches now. I mean, the standard of coaching has improved tremendously, and certainly with the aid of technology. But there's still certain instincts that, I look at a certain player and say, yeah, certain players you look at, well, why do they make those changes? Certainly they're trying to get better.
Yeah.
I look at a Ricky Fowler when he was working with Butch, and this is not disparaging the current coach he's working with, but sometimes the problem is the players are so strong in their belief, they almost force a coach to change things when the coach would say, you know what, you've done pretty well up to this point in time. I would just like, hey, stick what you're doing. And Butch is one of those coaches, obviously, a touch older than me. I always tell him that, but he's been around a long time. He's seen the greats. Obviously, his father, introduced him to all these great players when he was young. And these, the greats of the olden days, like Trevino. I always remember Lee Trevino said, "Hey, listen," said, "David, I'll come and take a lesson with you as soon as you can beat me." So that's how they looked at it back then, right? And so, you did get Jack Nicklaus, Jack Grout sort of situation where Jack was his sort of coach, but Jack Nicklaus saw him twice a year, right? That's all he did. Saw him twice a year, went over the fundamentals, and it didn't change a whole lot. And now It's like, okay, it's a little different. We live in a different era for sure. So I still think some of the old is really good and teaching by instinct. I guarantee you Harvey Pennick never used a video camera when he was
that's really good point. And like you said, David, basically, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But throughout the decades, David, you have, and you kind of hit on it in your answer just before. Throughout your decades of teaching, you've seen a myriad of different types of players. Have you come to the conclusion or the opinion that maybe there's one type of personality of a player that's able to grasp what you're trying to tell them, able to have a better understanding a little bit quicker of what you're trying to teach them? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, it does. But I think really, as a coach, right, you have to be a chameleon, because if you only have one type of approach, you're only probably going to suit one type of player, right? And so, I go back, years now. People like David Frost, who probably was a very much of an underachiever, and when he started, I always told him, I said, when you started to think, that's when you had your problems. When you didn't know anything, you just followed one or two things, you played great. So the point being is, I'm joking, obviously, to a large extent, but the point being is that some players, they just need a little something. They just need a pat on the back. And that's where Butch is a master at, of taking, a lot of his players, if you look at Dustin Johnson, who I remember seeing swing when he was 15, he really hasn't changed his swing that much. He's advised him to work on his wedge play and so on and so forth. And even Phil Mickelson. How much did Phil Mickelson's swing change in the 10 years that Butch worked with him? He'd give him a couple of thoughts and he'd work on it a little bit, but Phil being Phil, he'd sort of work on it on his own. He'd go back. And so it's you've got to be a psychologist if you're going to be a golf coach, I can tell you. We talk about, obviously, the great psychologists, the Bob Rotellas of the world.
Yeah.
But as a golf coach, as a swing coach, if you want to call us that now, because remember, there's all sorts of coaches now. You've got putting coaches and wedge coaches, and strategy coaches, and statistic coaches, and blah, blah, blah. As a swing coach, you really have to sort of get inside somebody's head and start to, how would this person be? How's this person? How are you going to communicate in a way that this person gets it? Some players, you might have to be more technical and use more technology.
Yeah.
Other players say, no, hey, just what do you see? Give me a drill. And I've been very fortunate in my teaching career, because my grandfather was one of Britain's leading osteopaths, and he was blind, and he had an amazing innate touch, how he could feel things. And so some people have said, probably within the family, probably, that you sort of inherited some of that touch. And I can look at a swing. It's like, somebody described them, a biomechanist said, you got biomechanical eyes. My first book I wrote, it was a golf swing. Back in the day, the group that sponsored the tour as far as a fitness van was the Sentinel Hospital out of LA. And they came to me and said, hey, this information you've got here, where'd you get it from? And I said, well, there's a lot of it, thinking and feeling and getting feedback from players. He said, it's amazing, because we've done all these tests, and they did. I remember they put electrodes on people and testing muscle groups and stuff. They said, it basically, what you've written there is what we found out. So it was, to some extent, it was a little bit of luck and good fortune, and, players that I work with getting great feedback. People like Nick Price, who was a real student of the game. And so it's a combination of things. So as a coach, you really have to wear many hats. Sometimes you somebody kick up the back, somebody, other times you've got to give them an arm around the shoulder sort of thing, And so that's why it's great. I've loved every minute of coaching. It doesn't matter what level of play, because it's a challenge to sort of get maybe somebody to get the ball airborne,
Right.
Or to get to sort of a top player to move the ball left to right as opposed to their constant right to left. So it's fascinating. It really is.
It really, you kind of, equate it to maybe being a bartender, because they hear everything from everybody and all the woes and all of that stuff. That's very interesting. Let's talk about this briefly before we take our next break, Led. Let's talk about Leadbetter for Kids. First, how did that come about? And secondly, tell all of our viewers what that's all about.
Well, when you look at the game, I mean, I've been involved with junior golf for many a year, sponsored junior tournaments. I'm a board member of the American Junior Golf Association, and my kids coming up through junior golf, and I've seen how much it means to so many young people and what the game can do and how you grow the game at the grassroots level. So really, I wanted to sort of try to focus a little bit on that and get young kids. So we have this Leadbetter Kids program, which really from about ages of 4 through 12, where we're really sort of trying to develop the athlete and the player, first and foremost, but also have fun, enjoy it, understand what it's all about. Give them a few fundamentals, not getting intense instruction, but a few fundamentals, and really get them in love with the game at a young age. And we have these groups, and we actually have, you mentioned a little earlier, Leadbetter University, and part of that is the Leadbetter Kids program, where instructors get certified in teaching kids, because it's a very different ball game. I mean, being a kindergarten teacher as opposed to a lecturer at university is quite a bit different, right? So you've got to keep their attention, you've got to have fun, you've got to laugh and joke. These instructors basically got to become kids again, and so some of them really adapt pretty well. So it's been a lot of fun. It's growing worldwide. We've really focused on it a lot. And hopefully we can expound upon it to a point where we've got people who are certified, and that applies equally. We've got well over 100 teachers worldwide at all our academies. So, but we certify non-Leadbetter instructors, because I always think that if the way to get people to keep playing and enjoying the game and to keep growing the game. I mean, obviously it's grown a lot the last couple of years, ironically with COVID, but to keep that impetus going, I mean, people need to play some decent golf, because if they're playing decent golf, they're going to stick at it, they're going to keep to it, they're going to go out and want to play and practice, and so it just helps the whole golf industry. So, it's something that I've been involved with, and I love being part of it, and we've got some really great people involved in actually growing the game.
Yeah, and you've done a great job with it through the years, David. All right, stay with us. We're going to step away, take another short break. We come back, we'll finish up with our very special guest, Mr. David Leadbetter. See you right after this.
One of the buzzwords happening in golf is the word lag. You hear it all the time, but what is it, and how do I get it? Lag simply is the loading of the club to help produce tons of power in your golf swing. Up until now, getting lag into your swing has been very hard. Introducing the lag shot, a brand new proven training aid being praised by some of the leading PGA Tour instructors across the globe. This practice aid trains your hands, arms and body how to make a powerful, efficient golf swing with an amazing amount of lag. Lag shot is a 7-iron length club with the same loft and lie with a whippy, flexible blue shaft and a beautiful jet black club head. After you master the lag shot, your game will change forever with a stress-free swing, more power and more distance with lower scores every time you play. Go to lagshotgolf.com and you'll see why this truly is becoming the #1 training aid in golf. Visit lagshotgolf.com.
Hey golfers, I've been a golf talk show host for a long time, and I've been playing golf even longer. Being in golf media, I've had the chance to play every ball ever made. I've tried them all. Well, my search is finally over because I found the best ball I have ever played with, and more golfers are finding the same thing. I started playing with the Elixir golf ball made by Encore Golf. Encore Golf has revolutionized both their golf balls, the Elixir or the Avant 55, or the brand new Vero X1, to where the performance of either will simply blow you away. It did me. If you're looking for better performance and durability with your ball, Encore Golf has it. Don't just take my word for it. Check them out at encoregolf.com and you'll become convinced, as I am, the first time you tee it up with Encore. It's the best performing ball for the price. Go to encoregolf.com and see for yourself. Your scores will love you for it. That's ONCORE golf.com.
Experience a salon like no other. Charm Beauty Lounge specializes in hair, skin, and a non-surgical, painless way to fuller hair, designed to boost hair volume up to 400% without glue or solvents. Make your appointment today. Call 702-201-1655.
Hey beautiful, come on in. Charm Beauty Lounge, Charm Beauty Lounge.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I think I promised you last week I was going to get some pictures from Charm Beauty and about the micro point they do. So if you're a golfer that's playing a lot, getting some thinning hair, losing your hair, man or woman, they do some amazing things, what they call a micro point. And I think I've got a couple of pictures for you, kind of a before and after of that, to show you exactly what I am talking about. There you go. There's before, obviously, and this one's going to be afterwards. It's kind of like a 1-day procedure, a couple of hours. It's absolutely amazing. So if you want to look better, feel better, I know I like to hold on to my hair and stuff. Go to Charm Beauty Lounge. They're absolutely great. Anyway, getting back to our special guest, David Leadbetter. Led, I got a press release from Golf's On that you guys are opening a couple of indoor training facilities. I think one in New Jersey, it said, and one in New York. And the thing that I liked about it, it's not a Mickey Mouse thing where you've got putting greens and games and food and beverage and all that stuff. This is for somebody that wants to go and just learn the game. How did that come about, number one? And when are you guys going to open? Tell us about it.
Well, we've had an association with Golf Zone, which is the world's leading producer of simulators. And,
right.
I mean, golf is crazy in Korea, as it is in many parts of the Far East, but in Korea in particular, they play more golf indoors, and they call it indoor golf, or screen golf, they call it.
Screen
it has
golf,
that
yeah.
name as well, whereby they go out and they practice, and they play more rounds. They have PGA, LPGA events indoors. I mean, with quite a bit of money to attach to them. So it's really crazy. So we merged with them about 3 years ago, and so we're trying to figure out what was the next step. I mean, yes, simulators in people's homes is one thing. As you say, having facilities where you can go and have a few drinks, sort of play with your buddies and so on. But also, you take those places up north, New York, and that general area, certain parts of the country, certainly during the winter, people want to go out and practice. So these are sort of for serious golfers who really want to get down and practice. Yes, you're going to have all the data there to help you, from a launch monitor standpoint, but it's really designed for practice people. There might be a drink machine there or a coffee machine or something, but that's about it. There's no sort of bells and whistles attached. It's just very, very simple, and so we're excited. And so we're, in all probability, we're going to be, they've actually partnered with Troon Golf, obviously a well-known company in the industry, to help to put these things together. So I think over the next few years, there are going to be quite a number around the country. And so, yeah, I'm excited because there'll be a golf instruction component as well. So people
Right.
go and work on their golf games. People seem to be less intimidated when a ball goes into a screen rather than losing a ball. I mean, you don't lose too many balls indoors, I can tell you. I know that for a fact. So, but it's it's just a sign of the time. So these two are going to be opening up within the next couple of months, and they're going to be a lot more. And so we've had a great association with Golf Zone, and it's just amazing. They've got some, as we know, some great players have come out of Korea. Certainly the women's side of the game, but also on the men's side now we're seeing these young great players, and they learn from a young age. They're technically advanced from a swing standpoint at a young age. They're good athletes, and they work hard. They really work their butts off to get us to really fulfill their potential. So, we're excited about it. We've had this association for 3 years now. We've just renewed, and so they're a great partner to help to once again grow the game. And you mentioned we're at Champions Gate. We're actually moving our facility after 20 odd years. We're actually moving just down the road to Reunion.
Oh, are you really? That's news to me. Great.
Yeah. So, well, actually, we signed yesterday, so we're really excited about it. So, come this summer, we'll be moving over. Our full-time junior academy, which we have, is going to be moving over there. They've got 3 great golf courses: a Nicholas, a Palmer, and a Watson course. So, and it's literally 10 minutes from where we are right now. So,
awesome.
Not a big move, but exciting. So, we've loved being at Champions Gate for all these years, but things are changing. So, we're looking forward to the new venture.
Good for you. That's absolutely terrific. Maybe you could talk some people at Golf Zone, yourself, maybe open one of these places in Las Vegas, David.
I think that would be
Why not?
Would be a location which would be popular. Absolutely. Look, you're in air conditioning. And I think it'd be very popular there. So I'll make sure I mention that to them next time I speak to them there.
I would love to help you out with that in any way that I can. Last question before I let you go. You've written 8 really, really good books. You got another one on the horizon?
Yeah, that one of my most popular books over the years was Faults and Fixes, and my daughter Hallie, who sort of works for Golf Digest, she was playing the little par 3 pro-am out at Pebble last week, and it's funny, she had 2 people she played with, both in the movie industry, and they said, "Oh, hey, I learned golf from your dad's book, Faults and Fixes," and so we're actually bringing out a new Faults and Fixes. There may be a little bit of the A-swing aspect attached to it, because the A-swing really, it was very popular, and the only thing is I don't want the stigma of being, okay, this A-swing is a method. It's just it's to actually help average golfers get to a point where they don't come over the top, and that's what the A-swing is all about. So, it'll be a new Faults and Fixes type situation, and so, maybe a couple more tips that I've learned over the years, and to help all those golfers play some great golf.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember that book. It was absolutely fantastic. Real quickly, how's your beautiful wife, Kelly? How's she doing?
She's doing great. Yeah, she's out skiing actually in Colorado right now. So I'm holding the fort down here in Sarasota. So no, she's doing fine. Thank you.
That's good. Please give the family my best. Always great having you on. Always great seeing you. We'd love to get you back sooner than later, David.
Anytime. It'd be a pleasure, Ed. Thanks,
you got it. Thank you so much. David Leadbetter, everybody, just a terrific guy, just a wonderful teacher, fabulous record with all the players he's helped coach to win tour events, major championships, both men and women, and all of the tours. Really great. All right, we're going to step away, and we're going to hear from Adam Bazalgette from Scratch Golf Academy in Florida, who's a three-time PGA Sectional Teacher of the Year, and he's got a great little tip for you with his advice. We'll be back right after this.
Hi there, Adam Bazalgette here from Scratch Golf Academy with another game improvement tip for the 19th hole podcast for golfers. Let's look at a little drill for your driver. I'm giving you a sense of the target line. Parallel to that, you can obviously see the ball. I have placed a tee fairly high, sticking fairly far out of the ground, about off my instep, and about a club head width in from the target line. Don't go at full speed with this, but this is a drill to help you shallow the club and help you sweep it off the tee a little bit from the inside. Hit some soft shots, and what I want you to do, your takeaway, if you use your body and don't flip your hands, shouldn't hit that tee. It should go just above and outside it. And then with some small swings, just come in and feel like you can clip that tee on the way to the ball. It's a little exaggerated in terms of the feel, but that's the feel. Pitfalls, don't get the club swinging way out to the right. We just want to clip the tee and kind of bang the back of the ball. And finally, when you do this, don't hang back to do it. Certainly your head doesn't want to get in front of the ball, but you've got to get the club down there and still get a little nudge of weight to the left. Just sweep it off there. So let's try a small shot. There's my tee, just back to about here, and clip it off the ground while my weight moves towards the target. I could hear that thing, well, you could see it clip both tees. Do a few of those, then add some speed. Don't think so much about it and start to work that into your swing. I'd probably only hit that 100 yards. That's about all you'd want on the drill. I think it will help you get a great feel, help you drive the ball better.
As golfers, we want instant gratification when it comes to a better golf swing and playing better golf. Impossible, you say? Not anymore. Golf Boost Artificial Intelligence, AI, has developed and patented the most advanced swing analysis technology in golf. Simply, the algorithms detect your body position and then analyze your golf swing using their artificial intelligence technology. The AI captures all the relevant data from your swing video and then presents you a personalized lesson. Golf Boost AI is the ultimate swing analysis and virtual instruction system for golfers of all ages and abilities. This sophisticated software takes into consideration your height and build, playing level, and returns the ideal solution for your swing. Bottom line, Golf Boost AI is an incredibly convenient and cost-effective tool for golfers to improve their swing. Go to golfboost.com and check it out. The app is free to download and try. Visit golfboost.com today.
Innovation begins at a single point. Elements, each with their unique character. Fire-forged steel creates unprecedented control. Chemistry delivers a touch so soft, combined to create a level of performance previously unimagined. Like magic, the Elixir, the new tour ball from Encore.
All right, thanks everybody for tuning in to this edition. We hope that you enjoyed it. We certainly hope bringing it to you. Don't forget to check out also Senior Delinquents, another show, short feature that I do with my good friend Jamie McWilliams, who is back in Florida. We appreciate all the views and the likes on that, and we hope you get out and get a chance to play some golf and keep it going, keep it in the short stuff. So until next time, we'll see you again, everybody. So long.